rearrange themselves into a completely different creature. When the caterpillar is ready to emerge, it struggles. I heard a story about a man who was watching a caterpillar emerge from the chrysalis. And he was watching this creature, and the butterfly would struggle, 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 and then stop and rest. And then he would struggle, struggle, struggle again, and then he would stop and rest. And this carried on for several minutes. And the man thought, the poor, poor animal, let me help it. So he took out a tiny pair of scissors and he carefully cut open the chrysalis, careful not to harm the butterfly. And the butterfly just plopped onto the floor, fat and squat, and walked around, looking completely disoriented. And the man thought, okay, it's any moment now, this butterfly is going to fly. But it didn't happen. And then the man realized that struggling was the butterfly pushing all the fluids inside its body to the tips of its wings so that it can fly. It needs to struggle to strengthen its wings before it can fly. And if it doesn't struggle, if we try and help it, it cannot fly. And then finally, we get the beautiful butterfly. Now, for me, a butterfly is a symbol of joy and love, and it just makes me happy. And I think for many of you too, the butterfly is a symbol of freedom and joy. And for many people, this is their personal symbol. So Martha Beck, under whom I trained, explains the change cycle as follows. There are 4 quarters, and the first quarter, where we find our worm, is the death and rebirth quarter. Then we move to dreaming and scheming. After dreaming and scheming, we get the hero saga. And then, after all of it, the promised land. So I'm going to take you step by step through this change cycle. So the first quarter is death and rebirth. Now this can be a physical death. It can be something traumatic that happens. But this quarter of the change cycle is any impetus for change. We all know that when we have a traumatic event, we are going to come out a different person on the other side. And I think we as humanity were struck by a death and rebirth when this COVID-19 hit the world. When we were told we are not allowed to go out of our houses, for many people, that loss of freedom was very close to a death. As I said, it can be the death of a loved one, but it can also be something very positive. You know, when a woman gets married, she changes her name. Well, when I got married, that was still very much the case. Nowadays, it doesn't always happen like that. And, you know, kudos to women who keep their names. But when a woman marries, even if she doesn't change her name, her identity changes. Her identity as young, carefree woman changes into someone who is now a wife. So death and rebirth doesn't always have to be a physical death. It doesn't even always have to be traumatic, but there is some kind of a loss. And depending on the severity of it, there are the 7 steps of mourning that we're going to look at just now. But the slogan of this quarter, and you know, another word that Martha actually uses is mantra. The word mantra means a sentence that I repeat to myself often to strengthen me, to help me get through things. So the mantra or the slogan for this phase is, I don't know what the hell is going on, and that is okay. You know, during a death and rebirth, sometimes up can feel down can feel up, and everything feels sommer lekker de mekaar. Leonard Cohen, in his song Ring the Bell, says, there is a crack in everything. That's where the light gets in. So during the death and rebirth, we rearrange our DNA. We dissolve into worm soup. And I don't know what the hell is going on, but that's okay. Now, how to get through this stage? Elizabeth Kubler-Ross initially had the 5 stages of mourning, which she then expanded into 7 steps, 7 stages. And the first one is shock. You know, there's complete disbelief in what on earth is happening to me now. And I want you to think back of the day President Cyril Ramaphosa said, you are going into lockdown. You're not going to leave your house. There was this moment of stunned silence. We were shocked. And then the next phase is denial. And then anger. And I think many of us are in the anger phase of this lockdown now. Then comes bargaining, where you bargain very often with God and say, dear God, if you undo this, or if you bring this and that back, I will do this and this and that. Who of you have done that? I know I certainly have. After bargaining, when you realize it's not working, you go through a phase of depression. And then one day, you wake up to this new reality and you start testing, how is this new reality going to work before you accept it? Tips to deal with death and rebirth. Now, my first tip is allow your feelings to be felt. You know, we as humans, if this is neutral, we are supposed to feel all the emotions. We're supposed to feel absolute ecstasy and deep despair. But we don't want to feel anything below the line. We push it away, especially those negative emotions, sadness, shame, those things we don't want to feel, we push them away. And then what happens? Those emotions start acting like 2-year-old children. Give me attention, give me attention. And one day, at the most inopportune time, when you don't have enough energy to suppress that emotion, it pops out. And that is why we get people bursting into tears during board meetings. Allow the feeling to be felt. How do we feel feelings? In our bodies. Our bodies cannot hold a feeling for very long. So even if it is the most disgusting feeling, even if it is a feeling that makes you want to cringe, that shame one that we don't feel so comfortable with, just say, okay, let me feel the emotion. Let me feel the feeling. It doesn't last very long, and then it doesn't bother you for a while. I'm not saying if you feel sadness once, you're not going to feel it again, but it will stop bothering you for a while. And next time, you will know better how to deal with it. The next tip is be kind to yourself. Treat yourself like you would treat your best friend. You know, we as humans are very, very critical of ourselves. If I had to treat my best friend the way I sometimes treat myself, I won't have any friends left. And I'm sure if you look at what you do during times of difficulty, you might agree with me. So be kind to yourself. Eat healthy food. If you need to wallow, allow yourself to wallow, but then also be that disciplinarian that you would with your best friend. If your best friend wallowed in self-pity for a day or two, you would understand it. But if your best friend wallowed in self-pity for a week or two, you will, if you are a good friend, just tell them gently, darling, I think this is enough. Tell yourself that too. Allow yourself the grace to feel what you feel, but also respect yourself enough to say enough is enough. And then my last tip is take it day by day. And I think we've learned that lesson now. We are in day 50 something because we take it day by day. And then one day you'll find that you are in the dreaming and scheming phase. Now, the name says it all. When we dream and scheme, we make plans. That creature, whatever it is in that chrysalis at the moment, because it's neither a caterpillar nor a butterfly, that soup, that worm soup, those DNA blocks are rearranging themselves to become the best version of the creature. And if you look at the chrysalis from the outside, I'm sure you can agree with me that there's some kind of strange beauty there. Dreaming and scheming and change is quite beautiful when you look from the outside. When you are in it, you can't see it. So during dreaming and scheming, we rearrange, we make plans. And the one thing I find extremely fascinating about this phase is that there's always some kind of a physical manifestation. Whether you cut your hair, whether you go on a diet, lose 20 kilograms and redo your entire wardrobe, or even if you just sort out your cupboard, there's some physical manifestation. And by the way, sorting out your cupboard is not just a physical action. It means that something is changing up here. We are creating space for change. A couple of years ago, I had the privilege of being a life coach on a reality TV series where we took people through a makeover. It was a weight loss series, but in reality, it was a makeover. And what happens if there is a physical makeover is you get thrown head first into the death and rebirth section of the change cycle all over again. I told my clients, but they couldn't understand that when your physical appearance changed, everything else is going to change too. So there's always some physical manifestation, whether it's dramatic or whether it's small. When we dream and scheme, we know we are because there's some physical manifestation. The slogan here or the mantra is, there are no rules, and that's okay. When we dream and scheme, no one should tell us that it's not going to happen or don't dream so big. It's their rules, not yours. For yourself, tell yourself there are no rules and that's okay. You know, if Elon Musk was told that he has to stick by the rules and he has to play within the current norms, he would never have dreamt of going to Mars. And look where we are. We're on the verge of colonizing another planet. So when we dream and scheme, we visualize, we set our intentions. Now, with intention setting, my one teacher, Burke Esterhuizen, says that your conscious mind is the goal setter and your subconscious mind is the goal getter. So when your conscious mind tells your subconscious mind, that is something that I would like, and you fuel it, then you're very likely going to get there. During dreaming and scheming, we play with possibilities. If I do this, then this can happen. What would happen if I did this? Like I said, there are no rules. We daydream a lot. Now, the dreaming and scheming phase is not a very active phase. It's more in your head. So we daydream, we make plans, and we design the future that we want. Some tips for this phase. Dream big. Martha Beck talks about wildly improbable goals. Now, my dad's on this call. Hello, Papa. And my dad always says, something is possible, but highly unlikely when you tell them a story of something that's possible, but highly unlikely. So dream the unlikely, the improbable goals, because it's only when you dream big that you can win big. If you think of someone shooting a bow and arrow, when you cock that bow, you have to aim for something. Otherwise, you're just going to hit the floor. Second step is reverse engineer your dreams. Start with where you want to be and then work it backwards. But you have to truly desire what you want, because if you don't have that burning desire, you are going to give up when the going gets tough. When we get to the next phase, you will see how easy it can be to give up. So start with what you truly desire. Envision yourself having that goal and then work out the action steps backwards. The last tip is something that I have heard probably 1,000,000 times, but I never did it. Until one day, about 2 years ago, when I decided, okay, it's not working for me, let's give writing it down a chance. So I write everything that I plan, all my goals, I write down, and then I work out the action steps backwards. When we write things down, it becomes more of a reality. Don't type it on your keyboard. It's not the same. I wrote an article on my website of how things get from the head to the heart through the hand. We have to write down what we truly want. And I promise you, when you look back at your journals, it is amazing to see what you have accomplished. But the next step in the change cycle is the Hero Saga. When I was a child, I loved reading. In fact, one of my cousins said to me, she didn't like me a lot because she wanted to play and I just wanted to read. And my favorite stories to read were the myths and the mythologies of old. My favorite was Helen of Troy, but close second was the story of Jason and the Golden Fleece. And Jason had a gang of men, the Argonauts, and he was told to get the golden fleece because the king knew that it was virtually impossible for him to get that golden fleece. But Jason had his supporters, he had his gang, and that is the one thing. Choose the people who support you. Not everyone is going to like you. They're not supposed to. Choose the people who do. Choose your heroes, choose your support team and take them with you. So one of the things Jason encountered on his journey was the sirens. And when I said earlier, make sure that what you are dreaming about, what goal you are setting is something you truly desire. If it's not a burning desire, then those siren songs can easily distract you. Jason also had to fight monsters, and there were storms. And I think much of what we are seeing now, we can qualify as monsters and storms. This COVID-19 thing, if we think about it, we talk about fighting it. It's a monster. We can't see it, but it's threatening us. And then the storms are all around us. But if you have your gang with you, your cheerleaders, and you have set your course, then you will get there. Now, Jason didn't set out to get the golden fleece, got it the same day and was back in time for dinner and the 8 o'clock news with his wife. Oh no, doesn't quite work like that. The slogan in the Hero Saga, this is much worse than I expected. And that's okay. You know, if you think of Jason, imagine him being in the middle of a storm, thinking he's going to die. The slogan makes sense then. This is much worse than I expected, but it's okay because everyone going through the hero saga have those moments when you think, it's not worth it, I'm going to give up. The hero saga is about one step forward, two steps back, sometimes 4, 5, 6 steps back. It's about finding your balance again and going on. When we feel anxiety or fear, it manifests in our bodies very often as butterflies, nervousness fear, not mortal fear. You know, when you're nervous about something, you feel it here in your gut. It feels like butterflies. Excitement feels exactly the same way. So when we just reframe how we are feeling, it becomes a little bit easier to deal with that feeling inside ourselves. There's a lot of redesigning of the plan. There's a lot of going back to dreaming and scheming when we are in the hero saga, because that plan I created in dreaming and scheming, I am now putting into action, and it doesn't always work. So then I go back to the drawing board and I come up with a new plan because I truly desire this goal I have set myself. Practice makes perfect. Do the work and do it to the best of your ability. Now, Brené Brown says that every person you meet at any time is doing the absolute best they can. So if you look at someone, or if you think someone's actions weren't quite so nice or weren't quite what you would have done, just remember they are doing the best they can with what they have. Not our best isn't the same every single day. Some days my best is an 8 out of 10. Some days my best is a 2 out of 10. But if I do my best, I cannot do anymore. So do your best when you are in the hero saga. Do the work and do it well. And don't expect success overnight. Like I said, Jason did not set out to get the golden fleece and was back in time for dinner and the 8 o'clock news. It is a journey, but you can enjoy that journey because much of our lives are spent here in the hero saga. And if we only wait for the moments that we hit the goal, that we hit the target, we are going to lose out so much of our lives. You've heard it. I'm going to repeat it. Life is a journey. Enjoy the ride. So the tips here in the hero saga. Firstly, remember that there is no such thing as failure. You are just finding ways of how not to do things. If you look at a failure as something that's going to stop you, then you don't desire your goal enough. You have to have that burning desire. So if you hit a brick wall, there are many ways to get through, over, or around it. You are just finding ways of how not to do it. Just keep going. Allow yourself some time to play. You know, we take our lives so seriously. I heard one day that the two groups of people who take themselves the most seriously are politicians and journalists. And when I realized that, and I was the journalist, I thought I made a decision that I am going to have more fun with myself and I'm going to laugh at myself more. Allow yourself time to play because life is not just serious. It's not just doing the work. Think of Jason and his Argonauts. And by the way, I forgot to tell you, Hercules was among them. Now, can you imagine Jason and Hercules kicking it back on the Argos ship with a beer. Have a beer with your friends, or some wine, or some gin. Or if you don't drink, go for a run, but have fun. Allow yourself time to play. And then hang in there, because the darkest hour is before the dawn. And very often, when we think we are not getting anywhere, we are this close to breaking through. If you have ever walked a labyrinth, you will know that when you get close to the end, it looks like you are right back at the beginning. And that is the way it's been designed. Life is also like a labyrinth. So just keep going, hang in there. And then we get to the promised land. We get to taste the fruit that we planted. If we look at the butterfly, it didn't think when it was dissolving into worm soup or when it was hanging upside down in the chrysalis that it is going to be this much fun to fly around from flower to flower. So the promised land is when we hit our goal. And the mantra here is everything is changing, and that's okay. Because the one thing about change, I said it in the beginning, is it is constant. When you are in the promised land, give yourself that pat on the back. Enjoy it, because this phase could last 30, 40, 50 years, or it can last 20 minutes. You never know when the next impetus for change, when the next death and rebirth is going to hit you. So everything is changing, and that's okay. In the promised land, we are reaping the rewards of our labor. You're living your dream. All those sacrifices, all those 10 steps back that you took during the Euro saga, pale in comparison. You have succeeded. Stop, take a breath, observe, and then proceed. Whether that proceed means enjoying the rest of your fruits or moving into the next death and rebirth, proceed. So the tips here, and the one I feel very strongly about, is enjoy. Give yourself the recognition. Savor it. You have worked hard for this. And then gratitude. Gratitude. I can do a whole webinar on gratitude, because gratitude is the magic ingredient to get us to where we want to be. And the more we are grateful, the more things we find to be grateful. If we have gratitude in our hearts, we cannot be negative. Those two cannot exist at the same time. But like I said, know that change can and will happen. You can be in any phase of the change cycle in any area of your life. For example, your career can be in the promised land, where your relationship with your teenage son can be in death and rebirth, or your relationship with your significant other can be in the Euro saga, where your career is in dreaming and scheming. So the different areas of your life, you can be in different areas of the change cycle. And it's very handy to just quickly draw yourself a schematic representation and figure out, where am I with what? And then the final slide. Caterpillar says to the butterfly, "You've changed." And the butterfly says, "We're supposed to." And that's it from me. Thanks, Charlotte. Ooh, I see there are a lot of comments. Charlotte?
Okay, there we go. Sorry, I had a technical hitch. I see there are a lot of comments, and I suggest maybe that you'd like to go through that and just see if there's anybody asking anything specific. Liezl?
Okay. So I have a few private messages, and I don't think it's the right thing to do to read private messages. But Shanti, I agree with you. Thank you. Mariette says, financial planners, I feel like I'm holding the whole world on my shoulders and battling to enjoy life. Mariette, what would happen if you just put all those burdens down for half an hour and give yourself permission just for, if half an hour feels a bridge too far, for 10 minutes, because whether you carry them on your shoulders or not is not really saving the world. None of us can save the world, but the stories we tell ourselves can make all the difference. I challenge you, 10 minutes of fun, 10 minutes of uninterrupted laughter. Jackie, thank you so much. Johan van der Linde, allow yourself time to play and relax. Yes, please. That's what I'm about as a master transformation coach, is having fun. Gratitude. Thank you, Ingela. I so agreed with you. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. You're welcome, Lavon. Thank you, thank you. And then there's, okay, so the private message was from my friend and former neighbor, Shanti, and she says she doesn't mind if I share the message. So she says points that stand out for her. Treat yourself as you would a friend. And just the act of cleaning, like our parents used to spring clean. Yes, Shanti, exactly. When we spring clean, we are cleaning our heads. One of the tips or one of the tools we use as Martha Beck life coaches is to get our clients to describe their homes to us. Because you write 4 or 5 sentences, my home is this, my favorite room is that. And then you get the client to delete my home and write my life, because our environment is a direct representation of what is going on inside our heads. Okay, 3 new. No, Tatiana, all your cleaning is not useless. And so many people have used this time of lockdown to clean out their homes. And if you've just listened to me, that means cleaning out their heads. We have the most amazing opportunity, especially for people who were always living to the outside. This is the one opportunity in a lifetime where we have to turn inwards, where we had no other distractions. We had to look inwards. Claire says, there's a reason we were meant to have a pause in life, embrace it, because life is going to return with a bang when we get back in the treadmill of life. And I have to say, I don't think we are going to go back exactly to where we were. Maybe that's wishful thinking, because I personally think we as humans were not treating the earth so kindly, and this entire lockdown forced nature back in charge. But we are going to return, and then it's going to be an entirely new change cycle all over again. Because when we get back to work, when we get back to life outside our homes, we're going to be smack bang in the middle of a new death and rebirth. Charlotte.
Right, so Liezl, you had some rewards that the people were unlocking. Do you want to perhaps share what those rewards are?
So the first reward I offered was a breathing exercise. It's just, and then under it, I played solfeggio tunes, the 5-8 tune, which for those of you who know what that's about, is the sound of love. And it just takes you into a very calm state. And then the tune keeps on playing where my voice is faded out. And that's for when you want to relax or you're struggling to fall asleep, because so many people struggle to fall asleep now. because first of all, we don't move enough, not because we are doing anything wrong, but because the situation doesn't lend itself to moving as much to what we did before. So we're not sleeping so well. You can use that breathing exercise, those breathing techniques to take you into alpha theta, and then you can drift off to sleep, or you can just use it to relax. The next one is a raging river meditation, and that is just to help you get rid of some of the noise up here. You know, we have so many thoughts every day, and most of them are repeated. So when you have the same thought repeated over and over and over again, it does become your reality. So this meditation will help you to get rid of some of those unwanted thoughts. And then the last reward is something that I loved doing. My teacher, Burke Esterhuizen, wrote a book, The User Manual to Your Mind. And I had the opportunity to record it as an audio book. And Burke agreed that I can give you the recording of the audio book if you met all the requirements. I'm done.
Great. So those of you that actually was very active in sharing the link to this webinar today will have unlocked these rewards. So how are you going to go about presenting these to those people, Liezl? Do you want to just share that as well?
So all three these rewards are in MP3 format. So when I get the list from Charlotte of who qualified for what, I will send you a personal little note and maybe offer you a little bit of coaching if you want it. And then I will mail you the MP3. The book is too big, so I will mail you a link to the book. But the guided meditation and the breathing exercise are short little MP3 files. You can download them on your phone, on your computer, on whichever device. Don't we just live in the most amazing time where we have this technology that can connect us even though we are each in our own homes?
Is there anybody that would like to share anything with us this afternoon? Anything that resonates with you? Please unmute yourself and you are welcome to share. Oh, everybody's so quiet now, Liezl. They're obviously they've already started meditating.
Heather says, we are going into a new, and yes, Heather, we are going into a new way of being. And that's why I said, when we step out of our homes into this new reality, we are walking smack bang into another death and rebirth. Because remember, change is the one inevitable thing. If we look at nature, we're going into winter now. Just a couple of months ago, the blossoms were blooming, and that's part of nature's cycle. So the change cycle is just another cycle, and it's absolutely normal for us to change. If we don't change, it means we are dying.
Is there anybody else that would like to share something with us?
Oh, I love this. Yolandi says, power of choice is in your control. Choose your mindset. Yolandi, you are speaking my language, because that is the only thing that's in our control. We cannot control anything that life throws at us, but we choose how we look at it, and we give meaning to the event. One of the events I spoke at, I shared a platform with a lovely man who quoted Viktor Frankl. And Viktor Frankl, in his book, A Man and His Search for Meaning, speaks about how nothing that happens to you has an inherent meaning. The only meaning it has is the meaning you give to it. And that is absolutely your choice. That is the one thing that no one can take from you, is your choice on how you choose to interpret things.
I see somebody is busy knitting something. I just see her knitting needles moving all the time. Hi. And I see you on your telephone. Do you want to unmute and join us? No, she's not doing that. Right, so I'm glad to see that some people are so relaxed when they join into our webinars that they can sit and actually knit. That's wonderful. So, Liezl, is there anything more that you'd like to offer the people that are on the webinar today? How do they contact you? Where would they find out more about you? And what is it that you can offer them?
So the easiest way to get hold of me is to go to my website, liezlthom.com. But there is a hitch, because there are about 8 different ways to spell Liezl, and I can think of 3 or 4 ways to spell Thom. So it's Liezl Thom, liezlthom.com, and there's a link where you can email me. As a life coach, I will help you question every thought that comes in your head. And that is the one thing, you know, whether I work as a journalist or whether I work as a life coach, I question everything. And if my dad is still on this call, you'll remember all those questions. Well, I've put them to good use. As a transformation coach and a master transformation coach, I will help you get rid of the limiting beliefs that are holding you back. So the two are completely different processes. Life coaching is client-centered and client-driven, and transformation coaching is process-driven. I will take you through a very powerful process to get rid of all those thoughts that are keeping you back. And if you are one of the lucky winners of the audio book that I recorded for Burke Esterhuizen, you will hear and you will understand that our minds are very similar to computers. And you know, if you buy a computer and you get it fresh out of the box, there are some programs already installed which enable you to load programs to use that computer for what you intend to use it for. Same way, we as humans, we come pre-programmed with our biology, our DNA. I did an interview once with a lady who does face reading, and she said, she can see from my face that this, that, and the other. I'm not going into too much detail. And those facial features I share with many of my cousins. In fact, my husband once said, when one of my cousins brought home a new boyfriend, my husband said, don't bother to learn all their names because they all look the same. You're just going to get confused. So I share those character traits with my family. That is part of my biological programming. And then we get programmed by accident. You know, none of us know exactly what we're doing when we're raising children. And I dare anyone to disagree with me. When we get that little baby, we don't know what we're doing. We do the best we can, and we very often just repeat what we've been taught. Now that baby gets programmed by accident. If you leave a child to cry in its cot, one child might experience it as, oh, I need to learn to self-soothe. Another child might experience it as abandonment and form a story about it. And that creates part of the programming. So when we are little, we get programmed by accident. And what a transformation coach does is take out the programming that doesn't serve us. Okay.
Right.
Sorry, Charlotte, I only saw your note here. So the link to the recording will be shared with everyone who was on this call today. And thank you so much for joining me. I loved spending time with you. And Charlotte will email it to you tomorrow. Charlotte, I'm done. You can take it.
Okay, no, that's fine. Right, well, ladies and gents, if there's nothing more that you'd like to discuss with us or bring to our attention, then I guess we are done. So I just want to end off by saying thanks very much for joining us. We, in fact, do have another webinar coming up on Thursday evening. If I can just tell you a bit about it, Dr. Leon Janse van Rensburg, he is the business coach to many, myself included, for the past 2 years. And what he's helped to do very quickly, without much pain, in fact, is to move my business online and to create an online revenue stream. So he's conducting a webinar on Thursday evening where he's going to help you to very smartly create an online business. So if you are interested and you want to know more about what he does and what he's able to do, I can send you that as well. We'll be sharing that link with everybody that was online today as well, if you haven't received it yet, or you can just follow us on Facebook and you'll see that we have all our events on Facebook as well. But Thursday evening at 7 o'clock, Dr. Leon Janse van Rensburg, and then you'll obviously be going onto our mailing list for future communication on what it is that is available through the Women of Stature portal. We have an online academy that we're also creating. So there's a lot that is going on at this present moment. So I see here we've got Gail that's saying, deeply grateful for the generosity of your sharing. Your analogy of Jason and the sharing of the cycle phases was very helpful. Thank you so much. Right. So if that's it, then I'd like to wish you all well. Thank you, Liezl, again for sharing your wisdom. It's always wonderful to get you as a speaker to be part of our webinars, and I look forward to seeing most of you back online soon again. Wishing you all a pleasant day. Liezl, is there anything else?
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.